everybody. This is May 17th and I'm starting to put together a few clips for a video that I will probably release this weekend. What you're looking at is my Good King Henry patch. All of the original plants that I planted there 3 years ago, I think. I've never ever lost one, and you can't see in this shot, but outside of that little patch there's a half a dozen or more plants that have come up on their own. I'm not sure if it spreads under the roots, roots underground coming up, or if it throws seeds around. I do eventually let these go to seed, but according to what I have read in the past, those seed heads, I'll show you if I get this over here, that's probably a little bit bigger than it should have been. They claim that it tastes like, asparagus. Can't think of what I was going to say. I don't get the asparagus flavor, but I like the Good King Henry. It's the first greens that are available in the spring here. And evidently very hardy. It's been no protection at all. It's been here on the ground in this area for 3 years now. So I'll continue picking and have some Good King Henry with dinner this evening. Well, in the same area as the Good King Henry, I have 3 hascap bushes, and I wanted to show you that they are starting to bloom already. Hascaps are supposedly the earliest of the bush fruit that you can pick off of bushes or vines like raspberries, whatever. I've only had a very few so far, but this year the plants are 3 years old, I think, and a lot of blossoms on, so I'm looking forward to getting a few hascaps. The 3 comfrey plants planted along one side of the cabin are well up and growing. Cold weather didn't bother them this spring at all. I'll soon be cutting them back to use for mulch and possibly making some comfrey tea, although I understand it is very smelly stuff, so I've never tried it. I'll have to give that a try this summer, I guess. Hopefully those show up. I should be able to see, I think, 3 spears of my asparagus. It's just starting to come up. The bed here is 4 foot square and has, I think, 16 plants in it, and most of them have got a few spears up. It's always later here than in other places. Our springs are quite cool. I almost think this year, though, it's even later here than it usually is. We've had a lot of rain and a lot of cold weather in May, but I think that's about to come to an end. It's a little after 10 o'clock in the morning here now, and the temperature is already 20 degrees, so it's supposed to be even warmer tomorrow. Time to do some thinning, I guess. I already thinned this one up here, but this is the pink popcorn. I had excellent germination with both the pink popcorn and the bicolored sweet corn called espresso. I put 2 seeds in each one, prepared to do a sacrifice, I guess. And just, like I said, I already did that one, and all the rest have 2, so I had 100% germination. I hate doing this. I can't stand wasting anything. Lovely long root. Could be potted up. I don't know if I will or not. I think it's space that I have very little. Don't have very much space to grow them inside of the corn cage. Well, I've got a few of these here to finish, and then the sweet corn. I won't make you watch me do all of that. So I'll bring you back with my next project. Now these are my beets. I planted them, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I think. I'm not really sure exactly how far back it was. 2 varieties. It's a tray that has 128 cells, if I remember correctly. And I planted it half with Detroit Red and the other half with one of those cylinder type beets that I of course can't remember the name of right now. And I planted two and at least sometimes three, but always at least two seeds in each cell. And sometimes I've got like 3, 2 coming up, 3 in that one. And what always amazes me about beets, there's cells there, and another one here, and 3. No, that one there's got one, I guess. So far, there's nothing up in. Now, they may come up, and every cell might have something, but beet seeds are a strange thing. Actually, the thing that you plant for a beet seed isn't a single beet seed. It's a cluster of seeds. There is one particular hybrid variety that is only one seed, but what looks like a beet seed is actually several seeds in a little capsule. And I planted several of the little capsules, so I'm getting a pretty good germination here, but that's what I wanted. Be tedious with the scissors to go through 128 cells, but I have to do it once, I guess. And what I thought I would talk about right now is my health. I mentioned that I was having knee surgery, and a number of my subscribers have been asking questions as to how I'm doing and whatever. So I thought I'd give you a little update. I don't mean to sound like I have any great serious health problem. I had arthroscopic surgery. That's that miniature surgery. I had 3 small punctures in my kneecap where the surgeon went in and did his work with some tools and whatever inside there. He said he repaired or mended the meniscus that there was a small tear in, and removed some spurs. However, in talking with him prior to the surgery and after the surgery, I think we both agreed that that isn't my problem. I mean, I'm glad that he repaired those things, and I'm sure that's of some benefit to me, but I still have as much pain and maybe a little bit more than I had before the surgery. Something shows on an x-ray, not inside of the knee joint itself, but on the outside of the knee, the inside of the leg, if that makes any sense. On an x-ray it just shows as a little cloudy area, and so I'm scheduled to have an MRI. Not looking forward to that. I'm claustrophobic, but they have assured me that for this particular MRI I won't have to go all the way in the machine. If I have to go all the way in the machine, I'll just come back home. But he feels that it could be, and I'm not certain if he said ligament or tendon now. I was under heavy anesthetic at the time, but and I don't know whether he means the ligament or the tendon is torn or maybe detached or whatever, but it's something else that can be repaired, and I think with the same kind of arthroscopic surgery. So I suspect I have another surgery coming up, is what I mean to say, but I'm getting around just fine. I go for long hikes with Angel daily, and I mean long hikes, 2 or 3 hours. We hike a particular trail that we both like. So I'm not in serious health issues here. I have friends that have serious conditions, and I don't really have one. I guess just a bit of discomfort. But I will let you know after my MRI, and I'd like to thank everybody for their concern. Something else that I neglected to mention here, I took, I think it was 7 of the sweet corn that I pulled out that I've got a decent root with, and I planted them in the corn cage. I suspect it's way too early and I'll probably lose them, but as I said before, I hate throwing these things away. And I had a few of the popcorn, 5 or 6 of those. I planted those in an area, new spot this year for squash. They will come up in with the squash if they survive, but again, I doubt if they survive. I've only got 8 of the popcorn and 15 of the sweet corn, and the cage will hold more than that. My plan is to plant those when it's safe to transplant them here, a little bit warmer, another week or 2 probably. And then I will plant some direct sown to have like a succession crop. At least that's what I think I'm going to be doing. Well, you've watched me snip enough here, I guess. This is inside of my cold frame, which has been inside the hoop house all winter. And what is growing in here is all Salanova lettuce. All planted at the same time, sometime in March. But as you know, there wasn't any roof on the hoop house most of the winter, so it just had the cold frame over it. They were quite late germinating, and evidently I planted them at different depths. If this is in focus, these are more that are just starting to come up here, whereas these are getting some size to them. But I love Salanova. There's several varieties in here. It's a seed that I had left over from the last 2 years. I didn't buy any fresh seed this year, so I think I have all of the 3 or 4 varieties that are sown from Salanova. And I want to speak about this cold frame. I have an idea where I bought it, but I don't want to mean-mouth anybody and be wrong. I don't know what the brand name of this thing is, but as you can see, I call it plastic. They had some fancier term for it. UV treated, so it shouldn't rot or anything. Oh, it's a nightmare. I have the top off of it now intentionally, and that's in the basement up at the house. Won't be putting it back on till this fall. But the way the top attaches, you think you've got it attached and it won't close. You get it closed and it's not really attached. The thing is a nightmare. When I bought it, I thought, wow, this is great. It's light. I can carry it around. You can carry it around all right, but you spend a lot of time working on the thing. So I do not recommend it. This is red mini daikon radish. I've grown the white daikon, the standard daikon radish, many times in the past. I love the thing, and it grows to an enormous size and quickly. These are supposed to be, relatively small. I guess I can show you that seed packet if I can get to it. You hear me squishing around in here because between the aisles here is still mud. We've had so much rain. But in theory, that's what they're supposed to look like. I don't know. I don't think it said on here exactly what size they were. And if you see footprints in here, big footprints and doggy footprints, they're both me and Angel. These were planted before I put the new roof on the hoop house, and there was no way of working in this area without standing in that bed. So I think all the seeds came up. That's another thing. This is West Coast seeds. I've got to do some research to find out if these are an open pollinated heirloom variety, because if it is, I'm going to let some of them go to seed and I collect my own seed. I always complain because seed packets have so many seeds in them, and I've always thought, if you just sold what a gardener could use in the year, you could charge much less, but seed companies don't agree with me. Well, West Coast got part of it right. There were 25 radish seeds in this, and I paid $4 for them, plus tax and shipping. So if I discover that these things are an open pollinated heirloom variety, I'll be saving my own seed for next year. Also, this is supposed to be hotter and spicier than a daikon. Daikon is very mild. Before I tried it, I'd seen it in stores many times, and I always thought, well, I probably wouldn't like that. It's so hot. It's not hot at all. It's just a very sweet, nice radish. But it's supposed to be a little more heat in these. I think both things that I want to show you are in shot. I'm not sure if you can see this or not. If you see a little bit of green starting to come up here in this area, that is a double form of the Roman chamomile, the kind that you make tea out of. When I bought them last year from Richter's, I wasn't sure if it was an annual or a perennial, but it's coming up nicely, so it is definitely a perennial. I don't recall it blooming last year. Maybe where it was its first year it didn't. So looking for some chamomile tea sometime before the summer is over. And this is French tarragon, also from Richter's. I just happen right now to have all 4 of the herbs growing, 2 in here and 2 in the house, that are used in an omelet aux fines herbes, a French fine herb omelet. It's tarragon, chives, parsley, and chervil. So that's what lunch is going to be, with some of my fresh eggs out of the coop. The girls are doing very well. And I didn't show it to you anyway. You know what chives look like, I guess. But I grow a kind called Asian chives. I'll move the camera and wobble all over the place here and see if I can show it to you. close that's in focus. They're a much larger chive than whatever the typical kind is I've had in the past. And are they ever packed with flavor? I grew them from seed a number of years ago, and as you can see I've been trimming this already and having it in omelets and whatever. Much stronger chive flavor than you get out of the smaller variety, and very hardy, at least here in the Hoopos. Comes back every year. It even bloomed last year. I didn't cut it back, so I'm expecting to see seedlings come up in various places. I have done some transplanting in here and some seeding. Up here at the back, these two things are full of squash varieties, 4 winter varieties, and the summer scallopini, the patty pan squash. This tray here is all patty pan. I'll be giving a lot of them away, of course, but don't have room to plant all those. But it was a package of mixed patty pans, so you get 3 or 4 different varieties. I don't suppose the plants will look any different, so I won't know until they bear fruit what I've actually got. This is an annual wildflower, white muskmallow. And since it's an annual and a wildflower, I'm assuming that it propagates itself by throwing seeds around, which is great. That's why the areas that I want to plant it. It's also a plant that will attract bees, so plant it close to things that you want pollinated and it will attract the bees for you. If you saw my video when I planted Leah's marigold seeds, those are the marigold plants transplanted. And this is just seeded in same time as the squash seeds a couple of days ago. It's golden orange. And thank you, Kevin, for the seed. I had no luck at all with the ones that I tried growing in the Hoopos. I never got any germination, so I have 7 pots there with a few seeds in each. I only need a plant or 2. Hopefully we'll get something out of that, but they haven't been in long enough for anything to get going. In with the white muskmallow, there was one of the globe basils, so I transplanted that. And I just noticed this thing. I transplanted it and evidently didn't even notice when I was doing it, but I suspect that's a cultivated weed. I'll let it grow a little longer and we'll see what happens, but I think that's probably going to be thrown out. Both of my fig trees in here in the Hoopos survived the winter, but that's about all that can be said for them, I guess. With the roof gone off of the Hoopos, even though I had those heat cables wrapped around them and had them wrapped up, there was a lot of dieback. Basically, each one of them only has, right now that I can see, 1 branch. I was going to say, I guess I'm lying, but no, I'm not. 1 branch that is alive, a lot of 1 stem, whatever, and the rest of them appear to be quite dead, so I'll leave it alone for a while longer, but I suspect I'll be doing a lot of pruning back. But if you can see that, even the little things that are perhaps still alive are starting to produce the first figs. I guess that's the only twig that's involved in the picture, but there are 4 stem endings like that, and each one of them has 2 or 3 figs started on. So there's hopes of a few figs, even though the trees were damaged quite severely. I don't know if you can see all 4 in there or not. This tall thing is an espelette, and that's a chervil. And down in here is an eggplant, the Asian type, that light purple color, mauve colored, long slender eggplant, and a tomato plant, sungold, very tiny little sungold. These are the first 4 things that are going to get transplanted into the Hoopos here. I always do this every year. I put a few things out and wait a few days to see how well they did, and if they survived and are doing well, I come out on the next cloudy day and do some more planting in here. So. And I'm planting in the ground, which probably isn't too strange for anybody. Get that down. I guess that has it in focus. If I can get it locked again now. One hand and using a tripod is not easy. I've planted everything in here in containers for a number of years, probably all except the first year that I had the Hoopos, or the first couple of years. And that worked, but the problem I have with that is it dries out too quickly. So I'm going to try the soil again. And as I said, this is an Espelette pepper. If you haven't been following me or in the past few years, or you don't know what an Espelette is, it's a type of a chili pepper, but very, very mild. And it's grown in the Basque country in southern France, northern Spain. You can eat them fresh, but I dry most of mine, and then I grind it up and make a powder out of it to use it as a seasoning. It's quite a unique flavor. I like it very much. I don't know, probably plant, well, at least 3 or 4 of them. That's only been in here a very short time while I'm getting ready. And you probably can't see that, but that is a flea beetle. Had the miserable things in here last year, and they're back again this year. The grapevine is just starting to leave out the beta, the older grapevine. And they're on it waiting to chew the leaves. If anybody has any idea of what you would do to save your plants from the flea beetles, please let me know. Well, I won't make you watch me plant the other 3 sacrificial plants here, but I'm going to water them in, and like I say, 2 or 3 days time, if they've all done well, the next good cloudy day or a couple of good cloudy days that are predicted, I will plant the rest of everything in here. And those have grown quite well, that Espelette in particular, in the grow room. All of my chilies and peppers have done quite well. They've been growing since early January, and I've cut them back numerous times, but that one doesn't have any fruit on it. I have 1 or 2 in there that have got small peppers on. I wasn't picking off the flea beetle just flew away. I wasn't picking off the blossoms fast enough, I guess. Well, I wasn't going to make you watch any more of this, and then I remembered I wanted to tell you what I did for soil preparation in here. In preparing the beds, I lightly, turned the soil over, and then I put a good layer of something called super soil on top. It's the same compost mix that I use to grow potatoes in. It's a lot of peat moss and some nutrients and something that helps it retain moisture and that sort of thing. Works quite well for the potatoes and other things that I've grown in containers. And then as I prepared this hole for planting the eggplant in, I added a good amount of sheep manure, composted sheep manure, commercially purchased. Fingers crossed, hoping for the best, that will take off in here. Well, that's the last of the 4 things that I was going to plant. That's my tiny little sun gold seedling. And I wasn't coming back again, was I? But I've remembered a little pearl of wisdom that I learned in the past week that I wanted to pass on. I was listening to a radio interview of a man in northern New Brunswick. I live in New Brunswick, but he's probably a 5 or 6 hour drive north of me, so a colder climate than I'm in. I'm as far south as you can go in this province, which still is not balmy, as you know from watching my videos. But he grows in greenhouses, tomatoes for sure, and I think he said cucumbers. Then the interview was about a new heating system that he's put in. He's never had them heated before. And it's wood-fired, and the heat is all under the soil, and all those wonderful things that he talked about. It sounds like a great system. He didn't get it in time to have any advantage this spring, but he said he hopes to be able to be still growing tomatoes in November, December this year, and as early as April next year. So in this province, that's a big advantage. But the little thing that he mentioned that I had never heard before, he said the problem with putting tomato plants this time of year in a greenhouse that isn't heated, if we get a night that goes below 8 degrees Celsius, that damages the plant even though you don't see the damage. He said it will stop the plant's growth. It will eventually kick back in again and grow, but you lose a couple of weeks of the plant's growth. So I didn't know that. 8 degrees or lower is not good for your tomatoes. That's probably why I never had much success growing them outside here. And it doesn't go down to 8 degrees outside in the summertime, but we have nights that are 10 or 12 degrees. So it works much better for me in the hoop house. Well, that really is the last of these 4 transplants. Well, it's a day later now, Friday the 18th. I'll probably try to put this video up later today, get it out tomorrow, hopefully. Although I'm having some really crazy problems with YouTube. I don't know what's going on. I'm not receiving any notifications of new videos from any of the people that I subscribe to. And I just corresponded with Life in Thailand. And he tells me that he doesn't think his last video that he posted, he doesn't think that it was distributed. He's not getting many views on it. So also I'm getting hardly any emails in through my Gmail account. So whatever that is, I hope they patch it up soon. Just another YouTube glitch, I guess. Anyway, I am out planting my potatoes today. It's a warm day, sunny, and it's about 11 a.m. It's in the low 20s here now. Could get close to 30 by this afternoon sometime. So summer arrived in a rush. These are the Charlotte potatoes that I showed in a previous video a couple of weeks ago. They had grown those nasty long stems in storage over winter, and I planted them anyway, and as you can see they're coming up quite nicely. I just added a little of the soil mixture to them. I'm not sure yesterday if I called it Super Mix or Superior Mix. It is Superior Mix, and it's manufactured here in the province. And I put about 2/3 of that mix and 1/3 of composted sheep manure and mix it together well. And so far, that's all I've put on my potatoes. I do have some organic fertilizer I could add later if I think they need it, but I really don't think they do. These are the Cara potatoes. I just brought those out of the hoop house too. They're not as far along as the Charlottes, but they are coming up. I haven't had to earth them up yet. I just watered, and I think that partially covered some of the stems, but I think there were more than that over around the edge here somewhere. I buried them, but they will come back up through. So I'm going to have some Caras too, Brendan. I'm glad of that. I really enjoy them. In the past few years, I've been growing a small amount of various different kinds of potatoes. Found an excellent company in Alberta that will supply potato seed in small quantities, so you could try all these various kinds. That was a lot of fun, but this year I've just gone back to one of the old tried and true potatoes. This one, it's called Canela, C-A-N-E-L-A, russet. It's a russet potato, but it's an all-purpose potato. You can use it for fries or mash or baking. So I bought a 5-pound bag, certified seed, grown right here in the province, in Drummond, wherever Drummond is. Not around this area anyway, but grown in the same province here. And 5 pounds is 2 1/4 kilos. Normally I wouldn't put 3 to a container, but I have got a lot of potatoes, so I guess I can afford to do it. I won't be doing that many containers, but I want to get them all planted today. Got to add another shovelful to that, I guess, but I'll let you know how many containers I get once I've finished. It is getting hot here. Hot for me anyway. I suppose some places where you have 40-degree temperatures you'd be laughing at me, but I hate the cold and I hate the heat. You can't satisfy me when it comes to the weather, I guess. Well, I got 9 containers of potatoes, and they each have 3 seed potatoes except that rectangular gray one on the upper right-hand corner. I had an extra potato left over, so that's got 4 in it. And I've planted them, or got them on top of an old partially worn out tarp. I used that tarp for the same purpose last year in a different location. It's great because you don't have to worry about grass growing up around the containers. Also, of course, it kills everything over the summer. It will kill everything that's down below the tarp, grass, weeds, whatever's growing down there. And that's what it did in the other location. I'll show you eventually what I've done with that area where it killed. It's where I'm going to plant some of my squash, the varieties that are vining and run all over the place. I've got a good bed out of where the potatoes were last year, but I'll save that for the video when I put the squash out. Well, let's have a little look at some things that are about to bloom, and then I'll close this video down. Sun's so bright I can hardly see the viewfinder, so I hope you're seeing what I'm trying to show you. This is my grafted Asian pear. It has 5 different kinds of Asian pears grafted on it. None of the blossoms have actually opened yet, but I've checked and all 5 grafts have clusters of blossom buds that are about to open. For 2 years now I've been getting some pears off it every fall. Not the size that you would see an Asian pear in a store, but I'm thinking that's because of the size of the tree. It is growing nicely. I can get you to look at the top of it here. Put on a lot of growth last year, so it's getting up there. Probably the same as I do with my plum trees, though. I won't let it grow too much taller. I'll take the top off of it because it can produce all the pears that it wants to, 15, 20 feet in the air. There's no way of me getting them. So let's have a look at the plums. Before I go look at the plum trees, I stopped by the hoop house, and that is the corn that I thinned out yesterday. Didn't have any leaves opened up yesterday. They were all sprouted and up through, but one day in the heat, and so far this morning, and the corn has really taken off. Corn loves heat. The ones that I planted outside in the cage and in the place where I'm going to grow the squash survived the night. I should explain that the reason I'm planting some where the squash are, it's a theory that I have that the raccoons will only eat sweet corn. I grew that very fancy ornamental corn one year that you see in markets in the fall. People use it for a fall decoration. I'm not quite sure if it was the one they call jewel corn or not, but it was multicolored when you peeled back the husk. The raccoons never touched it, and I can't grow an ear of sweet corn. They check every night, and when one's ripe, they haul it down and chew half off it away. Let's go have a look at those plum trees. There are 3 plum trees here, planted sort of in a triangular pattern, maybe, I don't know, 12 feet apart in all directions. Only one of them that actually produces plums, and that's not what you're looking at there. I'll only show you one of them. They're all budded like that and about ready to break open. That particular one started life as an apricot tree. The apricot tree winter killed, and this came up from the root. And I know it's a plum because I did manage to get it to produce one year of just a few little yellow plums, tiny little yellow plums. And behind it, which you can't see in this shot, is another one that's also a pollinator. It has a Japanese sounding name that I can't remember, but it is not supposed to produce a plum, or does so extremely rarely. It's just, it pollinates the purple plum, the 3rd tree here. And I'm assuming that this one that you're looking at also helps pollinate the purple plum, which has a lot of blossoms on it again this year. A little larger than these, but none of them have actually opened yet. So. Well, that will conclude this little video. For those of you who have stayed through to the end and haven't gone to sleep yet, I'm the man that said he would never have a Facebook channel, and now for about 2 or 3 weeks I've had a Facebook channel. So many things that I want to look at, you have to have a Facebook channel to get in and see what you want to see. So if you're interested in going to my Facebook channel, just click on the little image of the cabin that's down in the lower right-hand corner here, and that will take you to my home page, where you will see up with my silver seabright Martha, my bantam hen at the top of the page. There you'll see the symbols for the various social media things that I have, including Facebook. If that interests you, if it doesn't interest you, don't worry about it. It's no great thing. I'm not doing any great blogging or anything there. It's mostly a collection of things that I find on other channels that I can share that I enjoy. I'm finding a lot of good stuff for home cheese making and gardening and all these sort of things that interest me. And of course I post my videos there as well, but you see my videos already from YouTube. Well, thank you very much for watching. This has gone on and on and on. It's about time that I ended it and got it up on YouTube.